from the moment that I start speaking, there's my accent already. And of course they asked it. I love my accent, but I needed to empower myself to say it's okay to speak with an accent. But it took me years to know this. And now I don't think with an accent, and that's the message that I'm communicating.
First of all, I think that we need to continue to develop more leaders, and that there are leaders at every level. There are leaders that are, right within the community on a day-to-day basis in neighborhoods, and then there are, organizational leaders, and there are academic leaders, and there are just a variety of community leaders, civic leaders. So I think we need to focus on leadership development, because not just because the Hispanic Chamber is doing it, but because every time she's in that room, like I'm thinking about 10 years ago, 15 years ago, when I was not only Latina, but I was the only woman in the room. And I'm always everywhere. Even now, 20 years later, I'm still look to see, am I the only woman? Am I the only Latina woman? And so I know that now from experience that it doesn't, the fact that we're at the table, that's number one. And then bringing somebody else to the table is very important. That's what we have to do. We have to bring other people to the table, we have to be at the table, and we have to speak, when it's important. I mean, not when it's important, but have your confidence to say what you have to say, because more than likely 100% what we have to say, nobody's thinking it. Because they're not thinking about inclusiveness, in the mainstream society. So that's all I want to add.
If I could, I'd like to just kind of take it a bit further. We think about how many times we're asked to recommend someone for a board, for a job, just for an opportunity, a commissioner. When we look at where we are professionally, civically, throughout the state or in our own communities, we should be a lot higher. We should be in better positions. We're usually better educated. We have more extensive networks. We juggle things dynamically and successfully. And to that end, I think there is an opportunity to somehow, whether it's electronically, to network. Because you're never a preacher or I can't remember what the saying is, in your own country. You're better appreciated. So even the portability of our skill sets is something that we need to be looking at within the state. And now with things being electronic, Guadalupe could do a whole lot in Cleveland that she may not be able to do because you're taken for granted where you are. After a while, people get deaf. So when you hear that people cannot find a Latina or a Hispanic, I think we need to think about who's around the table and how we connect and interact.
What I was just going to say, and you touched a little bit on it about leadership development. I mean, I think that we at this table, we come from different backgrounds, but I think that we feel empowered and we do have an education, but what can we do for the greater community of Latino women and you encounter that with self-esteem issues, with motivation, with a lot of things that we need to go back to basics and just help build that foundation from the bottom up. We do have a lot of challenges where we are right now, but then for the greater community of Latina women also, how can we help out, because we are a driving force right now.
You vote. I just want to bring up the point of empowerment and the importance of it. And I work with domestic violence victims, and 95% of my victims don't speak English. And so the amount of services that are available to them that are culturally and linguistically appropriate are very few. And because of that, putting them in a shelter, they last maybe a week if we're lucky, and then they want to go back to their home life just because that's more comfortable, something that they know. And so as a community, if the Latina women who are empowered, who do have that education, who do have that, can reach out more, we can create that infrastructure where there is more culturally and linguistically appropriate services for these women. So that way they're not reliant on their husbands and they're not reliant on these systems that aren't functioning for them or appropriate for them.
I am not Latina either, but I'm married to the Latino, and I have 4 daughters that are Latina. And so I've been, the oldest is 13, so I've been in this Latina environment for a very long time, and I feel like I have sometimes difficulty a little bit fitting into the Latino role model type thing that I have to live up to, because I have to show them, because I'm raising them, they have to be Latinas. So in the society, and so that's a little bit hard too. Like, how are you this role model for them?
I wanted to elaborate on what you said about leadership development. I just think it's important for not only Latinas but women to, start with, like, if you're in college or in high school, teach your children, teach other women to be involved in nonprofits and giving back and gain that experience, and then you want to be a board member. That should be your goal, to serve on a board of a nonprofit, because you're going to gain a lot of leadership in that experience. Like, for example, no matter what position you're in, like I'm a support staff person here, but I have already made my mark because I have served on several nonprofit organizations. So people, and that adds to your resume. That's going to add to your resume. You're going to gain more experience. You're also going to network, and I don't think a lot of women understand. If you want to make a change, you could go and you could serve people at Second Harvest or whatever, but you need to be on the board of Second Harvest.
The only other part I wanted to add to leadership development is mentoring. Like, we know mentoring is successful at all levels. So you're bringing your daughter, but how many people do we take to city council when we go? I mean, I have observed Lupe, my tuca, for many years. I mean, she was speaking, using her voice when I was too quiet, too afraid, many years ago. But you know what I'm saying? It's bringing people with you, right? So there's two ways. So it's our grassroots, and then it's our mainstream women getting on boards. It's both ways, right?
Our comment, it's an addition to this comment, that if we ever go up the ladder, we have to make sure that we support another Latina. In our positions, yes. Support ourselves. Like, I know I'm leading this, but I know who can do this.
Because if I could just make one suggestion along the coupon piece, 18 months ago when I started doing, I get invited to speak a lot. Now I no longer show up alone. I bring a high school student and we share the podium. I bring a college student, I bring a 20-something. Just kind of a small way, but if you invite me, you wind up with two of us. I introduce that person, make a couple of comments, and then they take it away. It's imperfect, but the other thing, for many of them, it's the first time at a podium before a group of people. That's a very small way.
And to let you know that sometimes you're indirectly influencing people, as she had mentioned, and when you're talking about mentoring, there's formal and informal, and I want to make sure that we all take away from that. Even when you're bringing people up, you're also opening in the doors that you have no idea. Your daughter is here getting to meet people that otherwise, myself with Lupe, with many other women, it's amazing just the small differences where you think, oh, it's not a big deal, or oh, this is too much trouble for me. The small gesture that you make is repaying itself 10 times, because I turn around and I'm like, if it was done for me, how can I not do it for someone else? And continue doing that. So.
And ladies, I think that exactly to her point, every time, around this circle, it's visible that every person here is a leader. You've stepped up out of your comfort zone, out of the norm, to do what you believe, and to come and to have a conversation or to be a part of a movement. And so I would suggest that every time you stand up and do something you believe in, you're giving someone else permission to shine, because you never know what young girl or what young woman is looking at you for leadership. And so we in our office, every chance we get, we bring young women in. We even told Lily that we want to mentor the youth. We want to mentor the Latina youth. My nieces, they look to me for guidance. It doesn't matter who you are as a woman. We're all individuals. We all have different heritage. We all have different things that make us who we are. It's how we define ourselves and the character that we take into the workplace, the character we take into our neighborhoods, what we do to make ourselves stand apart and to empower other people. And so I would suggest, anytime, like you said, if you have the opportunity to let someone else shine, then do that. And if you don't know, but vicariously through standing up and believing in yourself, you're giving others confidence to do the same. And so so I would just suggest that you always reach your hand out to someone else, regardless of background or heritage. I mean, you never know when your brother is going to fall in love with the most beautiful woman you've ever seen.
Which is
and
probably
you're
a
gonna
Latina.
have,
probablemente.
She is
Sexy.
She is.
I think it's very important to just empower everybody because that way you are actually creating allies.
Yes.
Which is very important because you cannot fight this fight alone. Yes. You need allies. So yes, we are Latinas and we need to empower our Latinas, our young Latinas, but also we need to create more allies.
I'd like to add to that,
yes.
because in my own experience, in this even in my current work, that it's sometimes the walk can get very lonely if you feel like you are being that voice and you start to step out and make that voice and you suddenly are transparent, as you were saying, and then all of a sudden you're perceived differently in ways with words you never thought that you were, but you're proud to be. And so the networking in your local group, as well as, I don't know if there's a social network for this group, but I think that that's very important and powerful, because sometimes when you get into that place of walking alone, your perception of self within that environment starts to get a little skewed. And so when you do ally with someone else, you realize, no, this is real. But I think you remember this is real, and then that supports that supports you to continue to have your voice, because it's very important.
I'm sorry, we have here, please share she's from Chicago, she worked for the federal government, please share and empower us.
Well, in the spirit of empowerment, I think that we are uniquely in a unique time period. I'm in the Office of Public Engagement for the Chicago office. The person who I report to, my boss reports to, is Teresa Niño. She's the Director of Public Engagement in the White House. We have Mayra Alvarez, who is in the Office of Public Engagement for the department as well. There is a fantastic, the people who you see in this room who came from the White House, they were all brought in by people that they know. So this administration as a federal government has its doors wide open to try to engage the Latino community, the women community.
Well, we definitely want to empower women and grassroots and taking them up to eventually serving on boards. We want to empower women at all levels, cross-culturally, whatever it takes to empower women from grassroots levels, but more than build bridges.
The media.
We want to mentor, we want to empower, we want to take a Latina, and bring her with us. So we want to elevate, our presence visibly, right? We want to visibly elevate our presence.
Bring it with you.
You also said that one of the issues that we need more opportunities for business opportunities for women.
Can we, as an action item, double the size of that? Can we commit here now that we're going to take this information and then send it to 5 other people who may not be connected and connect them? So that's one way of having a way to just kind of...
But we need to start connecting and empowering Latinas in our community.
Said about doubling the social networking. We have here Amelia. She has videos with many Latinas. She's portraying our voices. But I think it's important that we also collaborate with the media with sending maybe one-page report so that she can post it and reach out to everybody. You can send data, we can send reflections, and we're able to think and to think about
community-based organizations or places where to empower these Latinas in the community. So that's something that it can be an action plan to start finding more funding to actually create those places where you can empower Latinas. And one word. Energize. Energize. Hopeful.
Educate.
Vote.
Because
No. That was powerful.
Empowerment, share.
Connect.
Onwards.
connected. Happy. Hope.
Dynamic.
Lead.
Fearless.